What causes people not to succeed in a home business? There's a simple reason that people don't succeed, provided they're not trying to get rich quick. If they're trying to get rich quick, then that's the reason they don't succeed, instead of looking at it as real life. And so I'm a real life guy. I teach stuff that's fundamental that works. And so this is something that I've watched over the years as I've coached and mentored and trained thousands and thousands of people. And, because I've had a successful home business career for over 3 decades. And, and I started with nothing. So I know it can be done, and I wasn't skilled. And so it's very, very simple, really, why people don't succeed. First off, it is not that they don't have the skills or they don't have the training or they don't have access to the right things. They generally will, or those can be found. But those are not the reason. You can give someone the greatest tools in the world, but if they don't do the right things, meaning the things I'm going to talk about here, it's not going to matter. It won't matter what you give them. And so there's 2 primary things, and they're both related to mindset and commitment. So first, why do people want to have a home business? Typically, it's for more money, or ultimately, it's for freedom and time freedom. That's the ultimate carrot in any home business. It's the ability to create an income stream that you can enjoy from home and work at whenever you choose. That is the ideal, not to mention not having someone tell you what to do, right? Not telling you when you have to show up a certain place or what you're able to earn in a year or when you can take a vacation, right? You own your time, you own your life, essentially. But in order to give you insight as to really the solution here, you first have to understand a little bit about what it takes to start any traditional business. And I'm going to pick a coffee shop, for example, because you see them everywhere, right? There's coffee shops everywhere, and you just kind of walk in and buy your coffee, and you might not think about what it took for that person to go, I'm going to open a coffee shop. So first, if you're going to open a coffee shop, you've got costs, right? So your costs are going to be location and build out of the actual property, equipment, lots of equipment necessary, licenses and permit, inventory, furniture and decoration, staff. You got to hire them, you got to train them. That's just what you've got to do up front to open the doors. And then ongoing, you're going to have rent or leases. You're going to have labor, payroll taxes, cost of goods sold, utilities, insurance, marketing and advertising. We'll sit on this one in a moment. And then tech, your software to run all the things that you're doing, your cash systems and your security and your payroll and all that kind of stuff, right? And so to open a coffee shop, that little coffee shop you see down the street is typically going to cost anywhere between $80,000 upwards to $400,000. Now that's going to be obviously dependent on location and size of building. And you're also going to need about 3 to 6 months carrying costs just to have a chance, because you're not going to be profitable for a while, but just to survive those first 6 months, you've got to have that going into it to cover the costs as you go through the process and make mistakes and figure things out. And what is your income potential? Between $40,000 and $150,000 on the high end. That's what you make, right? So that's up to you whether that's enough money to start your own business. And then what about hours? You're going to work 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 hours a week. You're going to work whatever it takes because you have so much invested. And the failure rate is pretty doggone high. And it's pretty doggone high for all businesses, but it's pretty darn high for a coffee shop too. And so if you were to undergo this, to invest all this time and resources and take out a loan or invest your life savings or mortgage or leverage your house or some other assets to be able to do this, would you tell anybody about it? Or would you just rely on marketing? Would you just rely on ad spend in order to differentiate yourself? No, you would tell everybody that you had a coffee shop. Everywhere you were, if someone said, "Hey, how you doing?" You're like, "Hey, I just opened my own coffee shop, but come on down and check it out." Right? You would never be in a situation where you wouldn't allow someone to learn about it if it was at all possible. You would show up at all kinds of things that you could outside of your work hours, and everybody you know, you would be telling that you had a coffee shop, right? Why? Because you had so much invested in this, right? I mean, to fail is something you don't even want to entertain, but you're in it, right? I have had a dear friend many moons ago who was an incredibly successful real estate entrepreneur, and he said he sleeps with one eye open, right? Because he's always got the stress and thinking about what could be going on, what could go wrong, because, that's a big business. The bigger the business, the bigger the risk, the bigger the fall if you fall. And so what does that coffee shop owner have to have? A serious commitment, right? That's the differentiator. And that means there's two specific things that coffee shop owner does. One, they show up every day. They don't wake up in the morning and go, maybe I'll go in today or not. No, they might even sleep there. They're going to do whatever it takes, invest as many hours as they possibly can consistently to make it happen. The second thing they're going to do is focus on one primary thing, driving sales. They're going to focus on driving sales. And both of these things are the undoing of the majority of people who start a home business. Now, I get it. You start a home business, you typically have a career, you have some other significant thing that's taking your time, you have a family, your whole life goes on, just like the coffee shop owner who actually typically will sacrifice their career, unless they have deep pockets and then they're just paying someone else to run it and assuming the risk. But you have to drive sales. You have to show up consistently every day, and you have to drive sales. It doesn't mean you have to be a salesperson or a sales personality. I am not a salesperson. I'm not a sales personality. I'm an introvert, and I'm a non-confrontational personality. I have no interest in trying to convince you of anything. I don't even have any interest in convincing you should believe what I say here. You either do or you don't. You can go test it on your own. You can do your own research. I'm just going to share the truth. I'm just going to share what I know and what I believe in, which is what you do in a home business. And so you have to remember, it doesn't matter what business someone starts. I don't care if they are doing a hair salon, or if they're opening a dry cleaner, or if they're opening a cleaning service, or if they are opening an insurance business, or they're in real estate, or they're an accountant. Everybody has to be engaged in sales if they own a business. Because if you are not creating clients, you don't have a business. So all of your focus is on that. And that is the number one thing that I believe affects anybody in a home business. They're looking for the gimmick. They'll focus on finding other people to do it for them because they don't want to do that. You need to think about, should you even bother to be involved, or should you just continue to work for someone else rather than own your own business? Because you have to engage other people about what you have. If you have a coffee shop and you've invested $100,000 in it and you're basically living in it, are you going to keep it a secret? Are you not going to tell people? You're going to worry about what they think? No. You're going to say, I've got a coffee shop. I serve coffee. That's what I do. And so it's a very interesting dynamic, because if anyone who gets involved with a home business, especially if they're partnering with a company. Now, I personally have been partnered for the last 30 years with what I believe is the highest integrity company that there is. And partly why I'm partnered with them is because their integrity level is higher than any business I know of, and the product's efficacy and quality and integrity of their product line I know is the best. And so I don't have any problems. And this is what I do. And I always took that approach, even though to talk to somebody about buying my product, that wasn't easy for me to start, but it was part of the commitment. It was part of showing up. It's what you do. If you want to have the freedom, if you want to create the income that allows you to have freedom or provides whatever avenues that you're trying to accomplish in your life, This isn't a non-negotiable. You might say, well, there are systems out there to do that. Okay, try those. What I've seen is nothing out there ever, especially in today's world with AI. Nothing is better than a human touch. People do business with people they trust, people they like, people they want to be engaged with. That's who they really want to do business with. So yeah, you can invest money, a lot of money, in all these programs and all these systems. And will they drive some sales? Maybe. Maybe you can learn how to be a master on social media, but you need to live on it. Maybe you can learn how to become an influencer. Well, that's a whole big thing. There's nothing you're going to do to get away from putting yourself out there in some way, shape, or form, whether it's you or all of your resources. I submit the beauty of a home business is you don't need to invest your resources from a financial perspective. You need to invest the resource of your heart. That's what shows up. And so here's a couple things to think about. And you ought to read Debbie Fields' story, right? Debbie Fields, who everybody's heard of her famous cookies, right? How did she get to be successful? She started a little bakery, right? And she walked around town with cookies. She went out and drove sales and ultimately became a business magnate. But it's because she walked around with a tray of cookies. She's not like, I'm too proud to walk around with a tray of cookies. My ego can't handle walking around with a tray of cookies. No, she's like, I need to get people to taste my cookies. I need to get my cookies out there. I can't do it any other way, and nobody's going to do it for me, so I'm going to go do it. You have to respect your business and yourself enough to show up every day. If you're building something, it means you have something of value, right? You've got something that can serve others, that can make an impact on others. What all businesses do, right? They provide something of value for someone, and they receive income for that exchange. It's how the world works. But you got to respect yourself enough to show up every day and learn what you need to do. Have gratitude that you get the opportunity to do that, right? That you have the freedom to do that. Does it cost you time? Of course it does. Any worthy endeavor is going to cost you time. But also, someone starts a coffee shop, right? Isn't that noble? Think of that as noble. Hey, they're going for it. How much more noble can you get when you run a business, especially like ours, where it's all about helping someone else? If someone else doesn't get benefit, we don't get benefit. I don't earn income because someone's not getting benefit. There's no get you. It's all about actual nobly helping another person. It is a noble endeavor to start your own business. It's staking a flag in the ground. It's standing up for yourself. It's showing out what you believe in, as opposed to shrinking back and allowing someone else to dictate how your life is going to turn out. That's what it is all about. And then, of course, helping others. That's about as noble as it gets. Some people are embarrassed to talk about their own business. I think that is absolutely ludicrous. Why would you be embarrassed? I mean, you're doing something, you believe it. You have products or services, you believe it. You need to stand strong and stand bold and say, this stuff is awesome. You might want to check it out. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. And if you don't want to try it, it's okay. We're still going to be friends, right? But you are the sales engine, and you can never forget that. That doesn't mean you have to be a salesperson. It just means you need to make sure that every single person you've ever met knows that you have a way to serve them with what you have. Otherwise, they can't pick you, right? Unless you want to spend $10,000 a month on advertising so people can find you, you are your asset. Your mindset and commitment has to be, I am going to let everybody know about this and help the people that I can, and I'm going to build this up. And once it gets bigger, if I want to make it even bigger, then I'm going to recruit some people and teach them how to do what I just did. That's the fundamental. There's no magic for that, right? Yes, there's people on the internet who will tell you they can sell you programs and get you in seminars that are magic. That's not true. Yeah, there's a kernel nugget of something to what they're sharing. But they're just other avenues that will cost you money in order to do the most fundamental thing, which is way more enjoyable as you do it, and that is talk to human beings. So the number one reason most people don't succeed in home business is that they don't respect it. They don't treat it with the respect, or themselves with the respect, to show up every day and drive the sales to grow the business. Simple as it gets, fundamental as it gets, and doable by anybody.